to as a crime of the passion, which is fueled by the jealousy or the revenge. In majority of the cases, the victims are attacked by the thwart lovers. When they do not succeed in their activities, they splash the acid on the victims. The vindicative lovers, on being turned down for marriages by the women or the family, they are left only with one option to disfigure the face or to diminish the confidence of the victim. So the consequences that follows after the victim is injured with the acid are restless. Sometimes these are even unimaginable. The most notable effect of the acid attack are of the lifelong body disfigurement, due to which the victim faces the physical as well as the psychological changes throughout the life. These far-reaching effects on their lives impact their social and economic viability in the communities. The medical effect of the acid attacks are extensive, as a majority of the acid attacks are aimed at the face. The attacks through acid rarely kills, but it causes the severe pain, physical pain, the psychological and the social scarrings. Even upon the recovery, the acid attack survivors face many mental health issues, such as the higher levels of the anxiety, depression, which comes due to their physical appearance. Such attacks usually leaves them handicapped in some extent, rendering them dependent upon their families, or if they are married in case, then their spouses, for even everyday activities. These dependencies are increased by the fact that many acid attack survivors are not even able to find the suitable work due to their impaired vision, or maybe due to their physical appearance. Unfortunately, India tops the global chart when it comes to the acid attacks targeting the women. Despite the stricter laws and the harsher punishments, the number of such attacks continues to increase on the subcontinent. The figures which are released by NCRB, that is the National Crime Record Bureau, found between 2014 and 2018, there have been nearly 1,500 victims of the acid attacks in the country. This webinar is a platform for policy makers, lawyers, law enforcement authorities, researchers and the activities across country to share their learnings and their perspectives on the issues concerning the socio-legal aspects of combating the acid attacks in India. The intention behind conducting this webinar is not only to explore the process of accessing the justice through the litigations and the procedural justice practices, but also to explore the matters concerning how the societal constructions indirectly and often directly impact the lives of the acid attack victims. The outcomes of the webinar will be published in the order to strengthen the existing knowledge framework on socio-legal aspects of combating the acid attacks in India. I expect that this webinar will have the threadbare deliberations and discussions on the social, medical and economic issues of the acid attack victims, as well as to create the awareness among the public about the laws provisions that are meant for the protection and rehabilitation of the acid attack victims. I welcome everyone present here once again, and thank you everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to request Honorable Vice Chancellor, Maharaja Agrasen University, Professor R.K. Gupta, sir, to share the assembly with his words of wisdom. Please, sir.
Good morning, everybody. And our respected Chancellor, Dr. Nand Kishore Garg ji, Project Director, Shri Suresh Gupta ji, our today's keynote speaker, Professor Preeti Mishra, our guest of honor, Dr. A.K. Singh, and Dr. Balwinder Kaur, and our chief guest, Dr. Devinder Singh, Chairman, Department of Law, Punjab University. First of all, I congratulate the business school for organizing a very interesting and timely webinar on acid attack, a new face of gender-based violence. I, on behalf of the university, welcome all our dignitaries on this webinar. As Dr. Rita has explained very in what are the side effects of this acid attack, what are the legal provisions. But still, this attack is continuing every time. Whenever you open it, this type of news are always in the papers. So this acid attack is a thoughtful and premeditated use of acid on another human being for no blunder on her part. The cases on acid attack are mounting, swelling, and escalating like anything. The perpetrators do not realize the consequence of such menacing, ominous, and looming attack on innocent victims and throw acids on them, distorting their face, limbs, and different parts of the body. This is crime against humanity, and the topic for today's webinar is very contemporary. The society must be sensitized about this. It is high time now. Something stringent needs to be done to curb this evil in our society. Otherwise, it will be too late, and innocent creatures on the earth will continue to suffer for no fault of others. I hope our speakers will highlight all these aspects in this today's webinar, and as that Richard told, that the proceedings will be published and it will be circulated for decision making. Thank you very much, and all the best for today's webinar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such enlightening words. Now, I would like to request respected Shri Suresh Gupta, sir, Project Director, Maharaja Agrasen University, to bless the gathering with his foresight. Please, sir.
महाराजा अग्रसेन यूनिवर्सिटी के चांसलर आदरणीय डॉक्टर नंद किशोर गर्ग जी, हमारे वाइस चांसलर डॉक्टर आर.के. गुप्ता जी, देवेंद्र सिंह जी, ए.के. सिंह जी, प्रीति मिश्रा जी, बलविंदर कौर जी, और हमारी लॉ डिपार्टमेंट की, हमारे स्कूल ऑफ लॉ की डायरेक्टर रीचा, उनकी सारी सहयोगी प्रोमेल, अभिषेक और नितिन, सभी हमारे दिन रात मेहनत करते हैं वेबिनार को कामयाब करने के लिए। कोई भी कार्यक्रम यूनिवर्सिटी का, स्कूल का, ये अपने लॉ डिपार्टमेंट का कोई भी प्रोग्राम होता है, उसके लिए सारी टीम दिन रात मेहनत करती है। ऐसे सभी हमारे सहयोगी, उसके अलावा हमारे जितने भी आज के सीनियर, जूनियर, हमारे फैकल्टी के लोग, हमारे डायरेक्टर्स, हमारे स्टूडेंट्स और गेस्ट जितने भी कनेक्टेड हैं इस वेबिनार में, मैं आप सभी को आज के आयोजन की कामना की बधाई देता हूं। और आदरणीय डॉक्टर नंद किशोर गर्ग जी ने आप सभी के लिए शुभकामनाएं भेजी हैं। वो कोई गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की तरफ से एक इम्पोर्टेंट मीटिंग में उनका वो सडन जाना हुआ, अदरवाइज वो खुद आप सभी को अपना आशीर्वचन देते। उनकी तरफ से आप सभी को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। और मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं अपनी नेशनल विमेन कमीशन का, जिनके मोटिवेशन से आज हमारा लॉ स्कूल ये वेबिनार ऑर्गेनाइज कर रहा है। हमारी हिमाचल स्टेट की जो विमेन कमीशन है वो भी बहुत एक्टिव है, और पूरे हिंदुस्तान में हमारा जो विमेन कमीशन है, स्टेट के कमीशंस हैं, सभी के सभी विमेन्स की, गर्ल्स की बेटरमेंट के लिए दिन रात लगे रहते हैं। लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं जो सोसाइटी के अंदर जो खुराफाती लोग होते हैं वो कहीं ना कहीं कुछ ना कुछ गड़बड़ करते रहते हैं। फिर भी लॉ एनफोर्सिंग एजेंसीज, हमारे एडवोकेट्स, हमारे जजेस वगैरह, उनको सबको बिहाइंड बार भेजने का काम करते हैं। वो सब भी इसके अंदर अहम कड़ी है। और कितना ही भी आप वो करें, ये जिस तरह से हमारे विमेन कमीशन और सारे के सारे ये लॉ एनफोर्सिंग एजेंसीज वगैरह इतना आजकल बढ़ चढ़ करके इन सब चीजों की तरफ ध्यान देते हैं, मुझे ऐसा लगता है एक दिन ऐसा आएगा जो ईव टीजिंग आज गर्ल्स के लिए यूज होता है ना, शायद फ्यूचर में ये लड़कों के लिए यूज होना शुरू हो जाएगा। मेरी ऐसी प्रार्थना है भगवान जी से और अपनी सारी एजेंसी से भी, खूब स्ट्रांगली डील करें इन सभी ऐसे क्राइम्स को, क्रिमिनल्स को, और इनको बिहाइंड बार भेजने का रास्ता दिखाएंगे। देवेंद्र जी मालूम नहीं मुझे अभी कहीं नजर आ रहे कि नहीं आ रहे, बहुत इनको बहुत आगे बढ़ना है लॉ के फील्ड में, और बहुत ही सुलझे हुए वक्ता है। लखनऊ से जुड़ी हुई हमारी प्रीति मिश्रा जी बहुत लर्नर्ड लॉ की, वो हमारी एक बहुत बड़ी फिगर है। ऐसे AK सिंह जी जो हमारे लखनऊ से कनेक्टेड हैं, वो भी बहुत बड़े, वो भी बहुत ही बड़े मतलब एक गवर्नमेंट के ऑफिसर हैं और बहुत ही सुलझे हुए गेस्ट हैं। मैं उन सभी को यूनिवर्सिटी की ओर से उनको सबको इनवाइट भी करता हूं कि कभी भी मौका मिले हिमाचल की तरफ आने का, आप सब लोग इधर हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी को अपना यूनिवर्सिटी समझते हैं, आप आए और जो कुछ आप सजेस्ट करेंगे हम उन चीजों को सबको इम्प्लीमेंट करते हैं। अभी 7th को ही हमारा RTRAC आर्मी ट्रेनिंग कमांड के साथ हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी का MOU साइन हुआ है, और उस MOU के बिहार पर पूरे हिंदुस्तान के आर्मी के ऑफिसर्स हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर छुट्टियां लेकर के वहां से, वो आर्मी उनको छुट्टियां प्रोवाइड करेगी और हमारे यहाँ वो PhD कर सकेंगे। ऐसा MOU हमारा अभी 7th को ही हुआ है। उसके अलावा एक और बहुत बड़ी आप सभी को मैं एक खुशखबरी देना चाहता हूं। हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी एज मेंटर, और हमारा सौभाग्य है कि सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी धर्मशाला वो हमारी मेंटी बनी है। हिमाचल प्रदेश स्टेट की जो यूनिवर्सिटी है शिमला के अंदर, वो हमारी मेंटी है। मुरथल के अंदर दीनबंधु छोटूराम यूनिवर्सिटी फॉर साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी, वो हमारी मेंटी यूनिवर्सिटी है। इसके अलावा महर्षि मार्कंडेश्वर यूनिवर्सिटी मुलाना, वो भी हमारी मेंटी यूनिवर्सिटी है। एक और ग्लोबल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी है जयपुर में, बहुत बड़ा इंस्टीट्यूशन है। ऐसी 5 MHRD ने, एजुकेशन मिनिस्ट्री ने, AICT ने हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी को इन सब लोगों के साथ उनको सबको आगे बढ़ाने के लिए हमें सौभाग्य दिया है। मैं आप सभी के माध्यम से मैं ये एक भगवान से प्रार्थना करता हूं कि हम उस लक्ष्य में कामयाब हों। थैंक यू। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your illuminating speech, sir. Now, the time has arrived to invite our keynote speaker of the day to share the gathering with the knowledge, experience, and her vision on acid attack. Our speaker is a renowned personality of our academic and legal fraternity. She has done her LLD from University of Lucknow in 2004. She has received several awards for the contribution to the legal community. She has visited China, Bangladesh, Bangkok, Thailand as a session co-chair and a session chair. She has 22 years of teaching experience and 16 years of research experience in her credit. She has published several articles in national and international journals as well as chapters in edited books. She has authored a number of books related to domestic violence against women and law relating to protection of women, etc. She has participated in various seminars, conferences, symposium, workshops as a coordinator, convener, and co-convener. She has delivered around 30 to 40 specialized lectures in reputed educational institutions. She has also remained as a member of Board of Studies, Departmental Research Committee, life member of the Indian Society of Criminology in various institutions, etc. And currently, she is working as a professor and dean of School of Legal Education, Department of Law, B.R. Ambedkar University, Lucknow. Now, I will take the privilege to requesting our distinguished guest to bless the gathering with his words of prudence. Please, ma'am.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर प्रोमिल। नमस्कार गुप्ता जी, कैसे हैं आप?
बिल्कुल ठीक है, और आप जैसे ज्ञानी आदमी हमारी वेबिनार में कनेक्टेड हैं, ये हमारा सौभाग्य है।
थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू सो मच सर। यू आर द फादर फिगर ऑफ योर यूनिवर्सिटी. You take a lot of pain in maintaining the university and guiding the student, mentoring the teachers and all. So it was really nice to meet you in Baddi in your university campus. And now once again, it's my pleasure to see you all again, though through this online medium. Am I audible to you all?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. Very respected Vice Chancellor of the university, Maharaja Agrasen University, Project Director Sudesh Gupta ji, Convener of the webinar Dr. Richa, and all the team members, Dr. Promil, Dr. Abhishek Avasthi. Thank you so much for inviting me and having some sharing of words with you all on such a important topic. Though sir has said that it is interesting, but I differ here. It is not interesting. Because we know that a girl or a woman on whom the acid is poured, what is meant for her, the whole of the life of that girl or the woman is destroyed, not only physically but psychologically also. And it becomes very, very difficult for one to survive even in this hostile world of patriarchy. So I differ on this point that it is an interesting topic. It is a very, very sensitive topic, I must say. And I thank NCW for giving me this forum along with Maharaja Agrasen University to speak on this subject. One of my research scholar, Preeti Bhaskar, had done the research on the topic of acid attack also. So I had the experience and the opportunity to visit the Shiroz Cafe also, which is there in Lucknow, where the acid attack survivors are working. And we have witnessed their plight, the conditions in which they are living, and they are even finding it very difficult to meet their livelihood. So to start with the presentation, as Richa also told about the NCRB data, which is from the Ministry of Home Affairs. They collect data every year for the different offenses which are committed against women. And especially after 2016, they have started collecting data about the acid attack victims also. Because before that, such official statistics were not available so far as acid attack victims were concerned. So if I look upon the data, I have found data for 2018, 17 and of 2020 also. So in 2018, there were near about 240 cases of acid attack victim in India. And out of this 240 cases, 57% were women. So the topic of the seminar says that acid attack, a new phase of gender-based violence. To some extent, it is true that most of the victims of acid attack are women only. And as compared to the data of 2017, the 228 cases were reported in 2017. So there has been an increase of the cases. And if you look upon the data of 2020, we find that the data that I have found from the NCRB side, it is 105. And the happy fact about this COVID period has been that because of the lockdown, because of the certain restrictions, the violence against women has decreased. So the data which has come in the 2021, it says that violence against women has gone down. But the cases of domestic violence against women have got manifold. There has been an enormous increase in the cases of domestic violence. तो जो घरेलू हिंसा के केसेस है उसमें तो बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ोतरी हुई. एंड द वर्ल्ड ओवर, वेदर इट इज वेस्टर्न सोसाइटी और इट इज ईस्ट एशिया, द केसेस हैव इंक्रीज्ड. But the public offenses say because of the lockdown and social distancing and all, they are contained now. So that is a positive fact of this lockdown, though it is a pandemic kind of situation. So what is this violence? ये हिंसा क्या है? So for the very first time in 1993, Declaration on the Elimination of Violence Against Women defined the violence against women, especially Article 1 and 2 of this declaration, which is from the United Nations. It says that violence against women means any act of gender-based violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, or psychological harm or suffering to women, including even threats of such acts, coercion, or arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether occurring in public life or in private life. And Article 2 of this declaration further extends the meaning of violence and say that what it encompasses. So Article 2 of this Declaration on the Elimination of Violence Against Women, 1993 says that violence against women is not limited to physical, sexual, and psychological violence occurring in the family, including battering, sexual abuse of female children in the household, dowry-related violence, marital rape, female genital mutilation, and other traditional practices harmful to women, non-spousal violence, and violence related to exploitation, physical, sexual, and psychological violence occurring within the general community, including rape, sexual abuse, sexual harassment, and intimidation at work, in education institutions and elsewhere, trafficking in women and forced prostitution, physical, sexual, and psychological violence perpetrated by the state in conflict situations. So we find that so far as women are concerned, a lots of violence is perpetrated against her, whether it is physical, psychological, or sexual. So this violence and other forms of abuses are commonly understood as pattern of behavior which is intended to establish and maintain control over the family, household members, intimate partners, individuals, or the groups. Violence and abuse are used to establish and maintain power and control over another person, and often it is reflected as an imbalance of power between the victim and the abuser. Physical violence, if we talk about it, is one of the features of the violence when someone uses a part of their body or an object to control a person's action. This physical force results in pain, discomfort, or injury. Hitting, pinching, hair pulling, arm twisting, strangling, burning with acid, stabbing, punching, pushing, slapping, beating, etc. And this physical violence also includes acid attack, because acid attack has been defined as the act of throwing acid onto the body of a person with the intention of causing injuries or disfiguring them with out of jealousy or revenge. And this acid is usually thrown on the face of the victim because perpetrator wants to disfigure the victim and turns them into a monster, because physically her face will be destroyed and others will be deterred from facing her face. So perpetrator of the crime act very, very cruelly and deliberately, and sometimes this acid violence is a premeditated act of violence, as the perpetrator of the crime carries out the attack by first obtaining the acid, carrying it on him, and then stalking the victim before executing the act. So this intention behind the throwing of acid makes it much more graver offense, because we know that when the intention is involved, the crime becomes much more grave because it is not by an accident. So in most of the cases, what happens that hydrochloric and sulfuric acid is used, and mostly these are poured upon the face or the body of a woman. And this hydrochloric or sulfuric acid have a very, very catastrophic effect on the human flesh. These corrosive substances cause the skin tissue to melt, the bones of victims become exposed, and sometimes the acid even dissolve the bones also. And this permanent scar disfigures a human being's body for life. And when this acid enters into the eye during an attack, then she may become blind also, sometime partially and sometime permanently. So as a result of the disfigurement and disability, victims are permanently incapacitated and are forced to give up their lives, their work, their education. So looking upon the malaise of this acid attack victims, it has been thought fit that compensation should be given to acid attack survivors so that the surgeries, which are very, very vital for the healing of these scars, may be met with. And it is also very, very imperative that these acid attack victims, survivors must be supported with some kind of financial help. Because mostly we have seen the live cases, the mostly girls belong to the middle class or to the lower middle class, where it is very, very difficult for them to go to the hospitals and to take the surgeries which are required. But besides awarding the compensation, there are other points also, like the sensitization when it comes to dealing with acid attack victims. So these acid attack victims need to be handled very, very separately, as their situation entails a series of medical complications, social stigma, psychological trauma, gender bias, and a complete loss of livelihood. And we have seen the various cases of medical negligence also by the treatment of these acid attack victims. And when we were talking to the victims of the Shiroz Cafe, which is here run by the acid attack survivors only, they told us that sometimes what happens that only coconut oil is applied, or when the burn occurs, the victims are wrapped in the blankets. So such kind of mishandling of acid attack victim can cause further irreparable damages. So it is a very, very sensitive matter to be handled with so far as even the medical attention is required. So now let us understand what is the etiology, what are the reasons, and what are the consequences of these acid attacks. So these acid attacks is prevalent because of mainly three related factors. All these factors are related to each other. The gender inequality and discrimination, first. Secondly, the easy availability of acid. And thirdly, the impunity for acid attack perpetrators. And these attacks are mostly resulting from domestic disputes, land disputes, sometimes because of the dowry demands which are not met, or because of the revenge or the vengeance or the jealousy. And we have seen that in many cases these are the gender-based violence, because when a young girl or a woman turns down the sexual advances of a man or rejects a marriage proposal, these kind of acid attacks become much more common. So in most of the cases that have come up in different research studies is that acid attack is mainly where the sexual advances or the marriage proposal have been rejected by the girls and the women. So this acid attack not only violates the physical integrity but also causes scars on the soul. It completely shatters the confidence of a girl or a woman to move forward in the life. It deeply affects the psyche and the emotional quotient of the woman. And these horrific incidents of acid attack are very, very instrumental in the phenomena of marginalization of women in the developmental processes. And sometimes the woman is so much traumatized and embarrassed to walk out of their house and even to carry out the task of getting married, having children, getting a job, or going to the school, etc. So they forget to lead a normal life. And this has in the recent past has become very, very common, not only in India, but in our neighborhood countries also, Pakistan and Bangladesh, this kind of violence are very, very prevalent. But until 2013, there was no clear mechanism to ascertain the number of the cases involving acid attack. Because before the Nirbhaya case happened and Justice Verma committee was constituted to deliberate upon the position of women in the Indian society and present a status report. The acid attack was not defined as a specific crime in the Indian Penal Code. Only after 2013 we have got the offense of acid attack in the statute book. So before that, the cases were dealt with under the other provisions of the Indian Penal Code, that is, provisions relating to grievous hurt or where the girl dies because of the complications of the acid attack. The cases of 302 or 307, that of murder or the attempt to murder. So if you look upon the consequences, so there are not only injuries in terms of the physical deformities, but there are various psychological consequences, because the victim undergoes a lot many psychological changes because of the physical attack which is done on her body. So it affects both her body and the soul. And then there are various social and the economic consequences also, because when their body is scared, her face is no longer to be seen in a normal way. There the victim face a lifetime of discrimination from the society, and they become forced, or they are forced to live a lonely life. They are embarrassed to come out or step out of their home because they feel that people may stare or laugh at them. And the acid attack survivor even hesitates to leave her house and go to the workplace because she is not able to face the outside world. So ultimately it affects the education and the working capacity of a acid attack survivor. And sometimes what happens, because of the acid attack, she is losing her eye, she is losing her ear, or may lose some other body part. So because of that, she is put into the category of person with disabilities also. And because of the disabilities, she is not able to get the normal job even. So these acid attack violence or the crime or the offense, whatever name we take, it is very, very grave thing to happen to a girl or a woman, because it has various manifestations on the social status as well as the economic status of a woman. For the first time, the Law Commission of India submitted its report in 2006 before the consideration of the Supreme Court, talking about the acid attacks in India. And they recommended that this acid attack should be included in the category of the specific offenses under the Indian Penal Code. And in 2008, they recommended for the compensation for the victims of crime. And when this Justice Verma committee was reported, this Justice Verma committee, which was appointed in 2013 after the Nirbhaya case, is said that we understand that a most heinous form of attack on women, which is commonplace in several Asian and African countries, is the throwing of acid on women for a multitude of reasons, including alleged adultery, turning down advances from men, and also as a form of domestic violence. Acid and other corrosive substances are thrown on women or administered to them, thereby causing death or physical and psychological damage with unfathomable consequences. And this 226 report of the Law Commission of India, which particularly dealt with this offense of acid attack, also said that though acid attack is a crime which can be committed against any man or woman, it has a specific gender dimension in India. Most of the reported acid attacks have been committed on women, particularly young women, for spurning suitors, for rejecting proposals of marriage, for denying dowry, etc. The attacker cannot bear the fact that he has been rejected and seeks to destroy the body of the woman who has dared to stand up to him. I unquote. And in some of the cases, the aggressor is also very, very conscious of the fact that by throwing acid, he can destroy the self-esteem of a woman, because face is very part of the personality of a woman. So this dismemberment of the face or the body is not merely an offense against the human body, but will cause permanent psychological damage to the victim. I am quoting from this Law Commission report only. It further says that what happens when there is permanent physical and psychological damage to a victim, it is a critical question, and lawmakers have to be aware that offenses are not simply based on the principle of what might be called offense against the body, that is damage to the body, but they must take into account the consequences on the right to live with dignity, which is very much assured by the Constitution of India. So this the factors which lead to acid attack were discussed both by the Justice Verma Committee of 2013 as well as by the 2006 report of Law Commission, and they had suggested, even in 2006 itself it was suggested that we should have the specific offense of acid attack within the statute book, but somehow it could not happen. But after this Nirbhaya case happened in 2013, two sections were appended, 326A capital A and 326B, defining the offense of acid attack. So first look upon the constitutional framework. What are the provisions which can support the acid attack survivors? Because we all know that the Constitution of India does not discriminate between a man and a woman. All the rights which are available to man are also available to the women. So all the fundamental rights are equally enjoyed by the women. And basically this right to equality guaranteed by Article 14, right to prohibition of discrimination on the basis of sex guaranteed by Article 15, and Article 21 of the Constitution, which is the Magna Carta of the fundamental rights, and that also says that life is not a mere animal existence, like was said in the Francis Caroli case, that right to life does not mean the life of animal, but a life with dignity. So all these rights, whether right to life, right to equality, right to prohibition of discrimination, equality of opportunity and status, as assured by the preamble of the Constitution, all these are available to a woman also. But because of these acid attacks, a woman's life is destroyed and she is not able to enjoy these constitutional rights. Then if we come to the directive principles of state policy, Article 41 of the Constitution says that a state shall, within the limits of economic capacity and development, will make effective provision for securing the right to work, to education, and to public assistance in cases of unemployment, old age, sickness, and disablement, and in other cases of undeserved want. So here the word which need to be paid attention to is disablement, because in the act of or the law that relates to the person with disabilities, and the current law that is their rights of person with disability 2016, it says that the acid attack victims have been put into the category of disabled persons, and they will get reservation in the jobs and the education. So it has been put under the category of the benchmark disability under this RPWD Act 2016. Now further speaking, what are the national statutory provisions after 2013? As I told you earlier, that section 326A and B were added in the as a new category of, along with other new category of offenses of stalking and disrobing, etc. It was also made a specific crime. And then section 100 was also added in the chapter of the right of private defense, and it extended to the extent of causing death to the perpetrator of violence in case of acid attack happens. It says that now the acid attack is included in the list of grievous offenses under which the right to private defense extends to causing death. This means that an acid attack is so grave that a survivor will be justified in killing the perpetrator to defend herself from the attack. And then if we look upon the definition of 326A, it says that whoever causes permanent or partial damage, deformity, burns, maims, disfigures, or disables any part or parts of the body of a person with the intention or knowing that it is likely to cause such injury or hurt shall be punished with either description of rigorous imprisonment of 10 years, and it may extend to imprisonment for life along with the fine. And this fine which is to be paid shall be just and reasonable to meet the medical expenses of the victim. Section 326B says that if anyone makes an attempt to throw or administer acid with the intention of causing permanent or partial damage or deformity, etc., as defined under 326A, he shall be punished with either description of a rigorous imprisonment for a period of 5 years, extending to 7 years, along with the fine. It means the actual violence as well as the attempt of acid attack both have been made a punishable offence under the Indian Penal Code. And now the public authorities have also been made responsible under section 166 capital A that if a public servant refuses to record any information in relation to an offence under section 326A or B, shall be punished with rigorous imprisonment for a term of at least 6 months, which may extend to 2 years, and will also be liable to pay the fine. And 166 capital B says that whoever is in charge of any hospital, whether public or private, run by the central or the state government or a local body, or by any person who contravenes section 357C of the Criminal Procedure Code shall be punished with the imprisonment which may extend to 1 year along with the fine. And we all know that section 357C of CRPC governs the treatment of victims of crimes. So, but here something has been left, because if we look upon the provision of section 354A of CRPC, it says that if the offence are being perpetrated upon a woman under section 354A2, 354A2D of IPC, or if any kind of rape or the sexual assault is committed upon a woman, there the videography will be done and her statement will be recorded. But such kind of provision has not been given so far as acid attacks are concerned. And similarly, section 164(5)A of the CRPC also says that the judicial magistrate will record the statement in case of the PWD's person where a special educator is required. But such kinds of provisions have not been made with regard to the acid attack survivors. So there is a need for the amendment in the laws where the acid attack survivors are also videographed while their testimonies are being recorded, so that their cases may be strengthened when they are in the court of law. And because of this thinking only, Ms. Saroj Pandey moved an amendment bill in the IPC in 2020 in the Rajya Sabha in the March, and she proposed that the punishment which is there for the acid attack offense must be enhanced, because the present punishment is not apt looking upon the gravity and the heinousness of the crime. And she proposed that where the actual attempt is made for causing the acid attack, the criminal should be punished with death or the rigorous imprisonment for life, and the fine should also be more than 15 lakhs. So she has suggested that the offense of acid attack should be made much more grave, so that people may deter from committing such kinds of offenses. And where only the attempts are made, there also the imprisonment can be enhanced up to 7 years and the fine up to 5 lakhs. So I think that these recommendations are very, very laudable, and in the present parliament, we should hope that such kinds of amendment will be moved, so that the future criminals are deterred from committing the crime. And now come to the redressal part of the acid attack survivors. The compensatory jurisprudence has evolved so far as the offences against women are concerned. And section 357 capital B has been inserted in the CRPC, which says that the compensation payable by the state government under section 357A shall be in addition to the payment of fine to the victim under section 326A or section 376D of the Indian Penal Code. So where the offences are of acid attack or that of the sexual offences, there the fine will be, the compensation will be in addition to the fine which will be paid to the victim. And section 357C provides for the free medical treatment. It says that whereby all the hospitals, public or private, are required to provide first aid or medical treatment free of cost. It says that all the hospitals, whether public or the private, whether run by the central government or the state government or by the local bodies, they shall immediately provide the first aid and the medical treatment free of cost to the victims of sexual assault and to the victims of acid attack. And the procedure for remedy is very, very simple. The person has to file only a complaint immediately in the nearest police station about the acid attack, and the rest of the procedure will be as it is there in the statute book. And now come to the landmark Supreme Court cases. So we all know about the case of Lakshmi versus Union of India. That has been very, very landmark in the sense that for the first time it put a ban upon the sale of the acid in the open. Though before this case, though the case was filed in 2006 only, but it could be decided only in 2015. And even before that, so many High Court and Supreme Court cases are there, but there the acid attack cases were met with either with the offense of 302, 307 or the under 326. That is the offenses of grievous hurt only. But after 2013, now it is a specific offense. So various guidelines were issued under the case of Lakshmi versus Union of India of 2006 on the sale of the acid. It says that it will not be sold in the open and it will be given only on the proof of the ID proof, and it will not be sold to the minors. So like that, various directives have been issued. But we all know what the fact is, that even today we find that acid are being sold openly in the markets and anybody can have access to that. And another landmark case that came after Lakshmi was Parivartan Kendra versus Union of India. Here the Supreme Court said that the limit of compensation that was there of 3 lakhs must be enhanced, and it was extended up to 10 lakhs. So it is and this case of Parivartan Kendra is also landmark in the sense that it put the acid attack survivors into the category of the disability list so that they can get the benefit of reservation in the job and the education. So these two cases are very, very landmark, though there are other cases also. Then there are various central victim compensation fund guidelines by the central government, by the state government, and our national authorities for legal services. They have also come up with a scheme in 2016 itself for providing compensation and rehabilitation and all kind of legal assistance to the acid attack survivors. So the objective of the NALSA scheme of 2016 was to strengthen the legal aid to the acid attack survivors and to create a kind of awareness in the society so that these kinds of offenses may not happen in future. Then the latest guideline is that of 2018 by the NALSA, which have been devised under the guidance of the Supreme Court under the case of Nipun Saxena versus Union of India. There the Supreme Court directed that NALSA should set up a committee of about 4 and 5 persons who can prepare a model rule for the victim compensation for sexual offenses and acid attacks, and deliberating upon this issue and having consultation with various stakeholders, the new compensation scheme of 2018 is now in practice, which provides for the victim compensation fund. It gives the eligibility for the compensation, gives the procedure that how to apply to the SALSA or to DLSA, and It provides for the relief that may be awarded by the state or district legal services authority, the factors which are to be considered while awarding the compensation, and it also provides for the interim relief to the victim, and even the recovery of the compensation which is awarded to the victim or her dependents if the cases have been that of the fraud only. And then this scheme also provides for the limitation, because beyond 3 years, when the acid attack has happened, beyond 3 years the cases cannot be filed for having the compensation. But this period of limitation can be condoned depending upon the reasonable reasons. And then if one is not satisfied with the order of the secretary of the district legal services authority, etc., then they may approach to the chairperson by filing an appeal. So a very exhaustive scheme is there now, dealing with the compensation to the victims of sexual assault as well as to the victims of acid attack survivors. Now let us analyze the attitude or aptitude of the executive authorities who deal actually in the field with the cases of acid attack survivors. So the picture or the image that comes in the mind is that of the police. So we all know that how our police works actually in the field. They are not very sensitive even towards the acid attack survivors, because they have some stereotypes of notions so far as the violence against women are concerned. And sometimes the victim blaming is there. Victims are themselves blamed that it is because of their behavior, it is because of their dressing sense only that they are being attacked in such a way, or the offenses are committed against them. So if you look upon the attitude of the police, it is not very sensitive and not very encouraging. So we need to sensitize them. And even the cases in the court are very much delayed. So we need to fast track these cases also, because the agony goes on increasing if the cases are not dealt in time, because justice delayed is justice denied. And the supreme and this an amendment was also made in the CRPC in 2013 by adding a proviso to section 154 that the cases of acid attack or the violence against women must be reported to the women police. But we all know this fact that how many women police are there. And if I talk about my personal experience, when I was doing my LLD on the domestic violence, I went to the Mahila Thana and talked to the police, and even the women police officials were not very sensitive, or they didn't provide a cordial atmosphere to listen to your problems. So it does not matter whether the police is male or female, it is not going to help unless and until they are sensitized and proper training is given to them to deal with the cases of such nature, that is of heinous crime of acid attack. But we see that the NGOs which are there, whether it is Stop Acid Attack people, or it is the Chao Foundation, they all are doing very appreciable work, praiseworthy work, and they have come up with various rehabilitation plans. They have given the legal assistance, medical assistance, even the educational help. And this Chao Foundation has started this Shiroz cafes, not only in Lucknow but in Agra also, where these acid attack survivors are working to earn their livelihood. And if we look upon the present scenario, we see that the government is also very active so far as violence against women is concerned. The Ministry of Home Affairs has issued a number of strict guidelines that in case the complaint of women is not registered, the FIRs are not lodged, or any kind of laxity is there on the part of the executive authorities, then they will be dealt with iron hands. And in UP, we have this Mission Shakti program, where various seminars and conferences are being done in order to create an awareness in the society, so that the general offenses as well as the offenses of acid attack can be stopped, or their gravity or their enormity or their magnitude may be reduced. But what is required must is that there must be a check upon the sale of the acid in the open market. And one of the report of Hindu newspaper which was done in the Karnataka state in 2007, and they said that hydrochloric acid is as easy and as cheap to get as buying a bar of soap, and you can get it from anywhere. So we need to have a control, a check on the selling of these nefarious things, because there is no law to deal with it, because most of the chemicals are used in the factories only, and only one act I could found, that was manufacture, storage and import of hazardous chemical rules 1989, which was amended in 2000, and it controls various chemicals which are used by the industrial people. So because of that also, there is not much check upon these things. So we need to have more law so that this kind of selling is not there in the public. Then we need to have a very positive changes in the perspective of the society also. Though after the Nirbhaya case of 2013, we have noticed a lot of change in the parental attitude also. Now victim blaming is not there, no tolerance policy is there, even the parents are coming to the support of their daughters. So what can help the most? I must say that it is the education. Just a second. So education and the awareness is very important, because it may be critical in preventing the cases of acid attacks. And for this we need to start from the early in life by educating and working with the young boys and girls, promoting respectful relationship and gender equality, because we all know that socialization is very important. So when we are bringing up the child, we must acknowledge this fact that both are equal and both must be given the equal treatment. So we cannot grow, we cannot develop if half of us, that is the women and girls, are put back. Because all the societies which have developed or which have grown is those societies where human rights are protected. So in our society also, the human rights of everyone need to be protected, because a society which is more resilient and sustainable will respect human rights. And yesterday only we celebrated this International Human Rights Day, the theme of which was all human, all equal, reducing inequality, advancing human rights. So mere words will not do anything. We need to come to the realities of the ground. We should realize this fact that acid attack is a very grave offense, along with the offenses, various offenses which are committed against women. And for that we need to have sensitization of the society, sensitization of the authorities. We need to put attention on the bringing of our children, and here the role becomes important is that of the educational institutions, because we all are having, in all the law departments we are having legal aid clinics. So through these legal aid clinics we can make aware our neighborhood society, so that the mutual respect is there for both men and women, boys and girls, so that these kind of things may become a thing of the past. So I would like to rest my presentation with a shlok of Sanskrit, that Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Bhayantu, Sarve Bhavantu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukh Bhavet. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for enriching all of us with your captivating words and profound knowledge, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Before I proceed further, participants kindly fill the attendance form which have already been
only. So, being not very much familiar with this new technology, so I thought that it would be better that I deliver some of my major points through verbal mode only. So, first of all, we pay high regards to Professor, this Chancellor sir, and Professor R.K. R.K. Gupta sir, Vice Chancellor sir, and Professor Suresh Gupta sir, and other distinguished professors and Dean of the University. And with the request of the organizer, we would like to deliver a few